All right, lesson 8, challenging limiting beliefs. This another one that goes off of that winning the heart to win the mind. So first and foremost, what's a limiting belief? A limiting belief is any belief, and by the way, a belief is any thought that you have that you are certain is true. But a limiting one is one that acts like a ball and chain. It drags behind you. For you as a teacher, no, sorry, for you as a student, yeah, for our students, common limiting beliefs would be things like, I can't do math, or I'm not a good student, or things like that. And because the students are certain these things are true, because it's a belief, a thought that they're certain is true, they generally tend to act, not generally, they will always act in a way that matches that. We as human beings are very consistent. We act according to our beliefs, not the ones we say, but the ones that we really believe deep in our heart. We're always going to act according to those beliefs. And so if a student believes they're weak at math, it's going to be very hard for them to overcome that because they're always going to believe they're weak at math and they're going to make choices and do things that reinforce that. And then we also can have limiting beliefs. That can be like, I'm never going to be able to teach chemistry really well, or I'm never going to be able to handle that kid, or I'm never going to get along with that teacher, or whatever it may be. I'm never going to have time to do all of these things. Whatever those limiting beliefs are, we can have those too, and we need to be mindful of them. So once again, a limiting belief is anything that weighs you down, anything that encumbers you and holds you back from being your full potential. And that's for our students and for ourselves. So, how do we speak into these? For yourself, we'll get into that a little bit later, but let's focus on our kids right now. How do we speak into these limiting beliefs? Well, first of all, we got to do it delicately because the parts of these kids that have these beliefs, um, they're tender, they're delicate. Um, think about it. Like if someone believes they're not good at math, and you really try to say, no, no, you're good at math. You can do this. How do they respond? They get defensive. They shrink back. They deny it. You know, like if you come at it too hard, these parts just shy away and like go into fight or flight mode. So we got to be delicate in how we handle this. This is why I like using that class time that where I'm walking around and interacting with kids, because that one-on-one conversation is more delicate than trying to do this in front of the whole class. And so that's helpful. All right. So we also need to do it over time, repeatedly. When someone says they can't do math, that comes into play when we're doing conversions. And so the first time we're doing conversions, I make sure I check in on that kid. Like, hey, how's it going? Oh, I can't do this. I can't do math. And I'm like, all right. And we work through some. And it's like, hey, you did it. You could do that math. Look at it. See? And they may believe it that much. But then I pointed out the next time they believe it this much. And then that much. And then that much. So over time, the more I speak into it, the more I'm like, hey, look at you. You're really rocking that math stuff. I think about one of my students I had him in Algebra 2 and then I had him in pre-calculus, back-to-back years. He came into my Algebra 2 class, he could not handle negative numbers at all. Like his algebra skills were abysmal. How he got a grade in Algebra 1, I don't know. I think he got a B somehow. I'm like, what class was that? This kid had horrible math skills, and he was like, I can't do math. Oh, he had a work ethic. He busted his tail. I mean, the only reason he passed first semester Algebra 2 for me is because he did his homework every night. I mean, because he may have passed a few quizzes, but most of his test grades were in the 40s. And the only reason he passed was, once again, he did his homework. He was religious. He did it every single night. He busted his tail. So, but then he started making success. And he started, and then it's like, speak into it. Like for that kid, for him to make a 70 on a test was like worth celebrating. Like, it's like, dude, that's awesome. Look at that. I'm speaking into it. I'm like celebrating with him. I'm like, wow. And by the time he's finishing pre-cal, like he made an A on a really hard test. And I was like, dude, you rocked it. And then the whole class like knew his struggle, and they were celebrating with him because it was amazing. And so you speak into those things. Over time, you can reap amazing benefits. I had a girl a couple years ago who started very weak, but she began to believe in herself. And by the end of the year, she was a really solid student because of speaking into it delicately, gently. Once again, I'm with and I'm for you. I believe in you. Just really helps because these are things that are going to impact your classroom. When they have these limiting beliefs holding them back, they're going to get into that those three enemies of engagement. They're going to get into confusion. They're going to check out and get bored. They're going to be distracted. They're distracted by their own mental thoughts going in their head of like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And that's very distracting. But by addressing these limiting beliefs and rooting them out, we can create growth in them that'll help them be more engaged not only in your class, but every other class they have. And not only in your class this year, but for going forward. These are big changes we're making in these kids' lives. And you also want to help them visualize success. And that's part of the celebrating part. You did it. I knew you could. Just speaking into that. And just once again, because their belief is something like, I can't do math, when they do it, they can't see it because they don't believe it's true. They don't believe they can do math. So therefore, when they actually do math, they don't believe it because they somehow miss it. And so it's your job to address it. Be like, ding, 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 this. Do you see this? No, you did it. And they're like, oh, I did. Yeah, you did. And then you help them visualize. Like, think about, think about it. Now, you did this. Do you think you can do this on the quiz tomorrow? Yeah, I can. Yeah. Like you're helping them visualize that they can take what they did in class, they can take it to the quiz, they can take it to the test, they can take it moving forward. And you're really trying to help them visualize these things. Because these limiting beliefs, they're timely, they're time consuming to deal with, but they're time consuming to not face. If you don't face them, if you don't address them, they're going to rob this kid of time in your classroom. And they're going to make teaching harder as you go along the year. You might as well take the time and use it positively to address it, to face it, to help the kids with it. Because I said it in the last 4 lessons in a row, I think, win their hearts. Know that you're for them. Let them know that you're with them. Makes all the difference. So, action steps. Be on the lookout for these things. Commit to staying present with them, not trying to fix it, but being with them, and committing to know that it's not going to be a one conversation fix. It's going to take time. And your job is not to get them from having this limiting belief to no longer having it, to being free of it. Your job is just to move them down the continuum. Move them further this way. You may not make it all the way. Maybe you can't. Maybe you have a great connection with a kid and you can move them from having this limiting belief to believing that they can do it. Or maybe you just move them a little bit. But you've helped that kid. You've moved them a little bit. That's progress. That's growth. And then maybe somebody next year, if you have them again next year, you can keep speaking into it, depending upon the size of your school as to whether you'll see those kids again. But you can speak into that. So commit to the long game. It's not about the short game. It's not short term. It's long term. So play the long game. Play progress and growth. It's going to take time, but be aware of it. Be on the lookout for what's holding your kids back. And this one just takes time and practice of being aware and seeing these things. I mean, I'm married to a marriage and family therapist, so this is a little bit, I get more practice of seeing these things because she sees it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I do see that, and I go to a therapist myself trying to help me see what's going on inside of me, which helps me see what's going on in my kids and that kind of thing. And so all those things come into play. The more I work on me, the better I am at helping my kids. And that's another kind of side note there as well. So that's lesson 8. Look forward to seeing you in lesson 9.